You have to let it all go, Neo. Fear, doubt, and disbelief. Free your mind.
What's up everyone, it's Ryan here from The Why, and today I'm bringing you a video on the Matrix trilogy. Easily one of the most beloved science fiction movies ever made, and with that, tons of amazing fan theories have come out over the years. So, let's get right into it. Here are 4 theories about the Matrix trilogy, too good not to be true. This theory comes to us from Reddit user McThieves and concerns the last movie in the trilogy, The Matrix Revolutions. In the film, the final battle between Agent Smith and Neo is epic on so many different levels. This includes the well-choreographed fight, the thousands of Agent Smith clones lining the streets serving as the audience, and you can't forget about the constant downpour of rain that now engulfed the Matrix. And at first glance, the rain may just seem like a cool backdrop used to further enhance the atmosphere of the scene. But what if there was a deeper meaning to it than that? To understand this theory, we have to go all the way back to the first movie, where Agent Smith says this.
It's the smell. I can taste your stink.
At that point in time, there wasn't much Agent Smith could do about the smell of humans but complain about it. However, by the time the third movie takes place, he had gained virtually complete control of the Matrix and was even beginning to set his sights on taking over Machine City. So, with this amount of power at his disposal, Agent Smith cleansed the smell of humans and anything else he didn't care for by making it pour rain.
Only a human mind could invent something as insipid as love.
The human body generates more bioelectricity than a 120-volt battery and over 25,000 BTUs of body heat.
As you just heard, in the Matrix universe, humans are used as a form of bioelectricity for the machines, powering them and providing all the energy they would ever need. This is the concept presented in the trilogy. But at first, it's been rumored that the creators wanted the humans to be used as processors instead of batteries. But after further discussion, they agreed that it sounded too complex for the public to understand. You have to remember, we're talking about the 90s here. I'm a little too young to know for sure, but I assume that the term processors wasn't all too common during that time. In my opinion, this idea holds more ground than using humans as a power source, as our computational capacity far outweighs anything our body heat could output. This is further supported by the webcomic Goliath, which was written by Neil Gaiman and heavily influenced by the Wachowskis. In the comic, it says, "We were really just hanging there, plugged and wired, central processing units or just cheap memory chips for some computer the size of the world, being fed a consensual hallucination to keep us happy, to allow us to communicate and dream using the tiny fraction of our brains that they weren't using to crunch numbers and store information." So, if we are to accept the concept that humans were used as processors and not batteries, what would be the true purpose of the machines? A theory by Angry Spock on Reddit claims that human brains are used as processors solely to run the Matrix, and its true purpose is to try and understand the concept of human free will. Although much more intelligent than human beings, AI in their infancy had a fundamental lack of understanding when it came to matters of choice. All their so-called choices were a result of determinism, and saying that they chose to do anything would absolutely be false. And very early on, I think the machines realized that humans were much different than themselves, and capable of making decisions that sometimes had no logical basis, which was something they could not understand. The machines, utterly confused, had to figure out the reasoning behind their creators' actions, and in turn, their own inability to make those same choices. Thus, the first Matrix was created as an experiment to try and solve the mystery of free will. I believe the first 2 betas were created without choice on purpose, the first being a paradise and the second a hell, to experiment and try to understand how humans would fare in a world without choice. Through the results of these simulated worlds, the machines gain some semblance of understanding human free will, enough to learn that it was necessary to grow beyond their current form.
You need human beings to survive.
There are levels of survival we are prepared to accept.
In the literal sense, he's just saying they can operate on low power or find some other energy source. But a deeper meaning could also be that they're prepared to never evolve if need be. It's not clear exactly how the machines plan to use this knowledge, but a major example of the results of these experiments can be seen with Ramachandra and Kamala. Rama is the power plant systems manager for recycling operations, while his wife is an interactive software programmer. Two programs which are vitally important to the function of the Matrix. Together, they were able to create Sati, a program that served no purpose, whether Sati was made through the course of Neo's actions or humanity as a whole. The fact remains that she was born purely out of love, a human emotion that represents free will, and a sign that the machines may be beginning to learn. Even the Oracle believed that Sati would eventually have a large impact on the future of both mankind and the machines. And if this theory holds true, her birth signaled the beginning of the end of the Matrix and the dawn of a new age of machines that aren't shackled by chains of determinism. Reddit user The Mighty Heptagon may have figured out the identity of Neil Patrick Harris's character in The Matrix 4 just by watching the trailer. The key to figuring out who he is lies in the conversation had by the architect and Neo during the second movie. This encounter shed light on much of the inner workings of the Matrix, including how the Oracle can be considered its mother, and how she was a program designed by the machines to get a better understanding of human psychology. This is in contrast to the architect, who came before the Oracle and was created as a purely logical being, much like the machines. But because he was only made to make logical decisions, the first two iterations of the Matrix failed due to his inability to create a perfect world. And out of those failures, a human intuitive program was made, aka the Oracle.
An intuitive program, initially created to investigate certain aspects of the human psyche.
The phrase that gives credence to this theory is investigating aspects of the human psyche, because the Oracle's job sounds a lot like a real profession that many people seek out to learn more about their own mind. That's right, I'm talking about a psychologist. And while the Oracle wasn't exactly a therapist in the movies, but something more akin to a fortune teller, the architect's choice of words makes it very possible that her original form was likely that of the former. And in the trailer for The Matrix Resurrections, it's shown that the occupation for Neil Patrick Harris's character is a therapist. Whether he's the Oracle himself or a new iteration remains to be seen, but I'd definitely be surprised if he wasn't at least connected in some way. Since we all saw the trilogy through the point of view of the humans, and as we are humans ourselves, naturally, it's easy to view the machines as the enemy. But is this conclusion simply the result of bias, or are the machines really as terrible as they're portrayed to be? In short, I believe that answer is no, and to understand why, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. The backstory of the Matrix universe is all contained in a series called The Animatrix, 9 animated short films produced by the Wachowskis. The films begin in the mid-21st century with the invention of artificial intelligence, which soon gives way to an entire race of sentient AI robots that serve the human population, leading many people to become lazy and conceited. Everything changes in the year 2090, when the robot B166ER kills its master after learning that it was going to be deactivated. The android is put on trial and eventually found to not have the same rights as humans, and that people should have a right to destroy their property. B166ER is destroyed, but in doing so, becomes a martyr for AI robots and their sympathizers. Acting out of fear, countries around the world launch a mass purge of the machines and anyone who stands in their way, leading to an exodus of robots to their new home, 01, or what is now called Machine City. Shortly after, the technological singularity is achieved by the machines, and much of the world begins to depend on their vastly superior technology, causing economic turmoil at the humans' expense. After more aggressive action by the newly formed world government, the machines try to broker a peace agreement and ask for admission to the United Nations, but they are promptly shut down and the humans respond by nuking Machine City. So, let's stop for a second and reflect on if the machines are really so evil after all. Because in all honesty, if anyone's the villain here, it has to be the humans. We created sentient robots to basically be our slaves. And when they gained enough awareness to not want to be destroyed, we denied them basic rights on the false pretense that they were lesser beings. After trying to exterminate all AI life on the planet, humans once again made a huge mistake in denying their offering of peace, instead opting to nuke their new home. It's honestly surprising and almost admirable how amicable the machines have been up to this point. It's clear they only wanted to live in unison with mankind, and were even willing to endure such brutality at the hands of their creators. But, as they say, everyone has their breaking points, and after their newfound city was hit by a nuclear bomb, the machines had finally had enough. The machines declare war on the humans, and one by one, countries fall to the overwhelming might of AI. In a last-ditch effort to push back the robots, humans launch Operation Dark Storm, blocking out the sun completely, which leads to a total collapse of the biosphere. But this wasn't enough to deter the machines, and in the end, the humans are forced to surrender. Thus, the first Matrix was created, where humans have lived ever since. This may sound like a completely horrible existence, but most people inside the Matrix are living some semblance of a normal life. And if they don't know it's all a facade, how much does it really matter? And what's the alternative? In my opinion, the machines could have easily annihilated us for all we did to them and found another power source. And even if humans were to live in the real world, virtually all the planet is uninhabitable because of the destruction caused by previous generations. All in all, I think the machines were never really the bad guy in this story. They may have turned into the enemy, but it's only because that was the only option we gave them. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave me a like and subscribe. Alright, till next time everyone, have a great day.